Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Wynonna Earp. So it's very interesting because we pick up in this episode where the last one left off with Hot and Nicole. I'm so used to calling her by last name. I'll call her by her first name. Nicole and Wynonna going missing. And it turns out that she was taken by the seventh Revenant, the one that was involved with her, the one that came to attack their home. And very interesting enough, I did like the twist because we had it set up so it's like Reggie, the morgue guy we met last episode. It's like, oh, he's totally the freaking Revenant and everything, and he's got them captured. And we also met Bethany. He had Bethany there, who, if I'm correct, because I'm blanking, I'm not 100% sure if she is who I think she is. Bethany is the girl that the last time we saw her was the episode before last, right? Where the last time we saw her was when she was hitting on Doc, the lady that's kind of hanging around Bobo or whatever. But Doc kind of pushed her away, so she was walking and then she got pulled into a truck. I was under the impression that she was super dead, because that is the same lady, right? Because it's like we saw her kind of scream as she was yanked into the truck and then blood splattered on the windshield. So I was like, with the way her neck was looking, I was like, okay, so it possibly could be her. But with that amount of blood, I was so sure she was super dead. But she was brought there, and basically Reggie was experimenting on it. I did like the fact that Wynonna was like, okay, you can get away from here, you can run, you can go ask for help. But she got back in bed rather than running away because she was too scared. She's like, I'm not brave like you. And she, it's like I can't fault her for being scared, because she probably felt like if she ran, shit would be worse if she ran for herself. Like, it's like things would be bad, but it'd be worse if she ran. So she was so terrified. It ended up staying because basically he has this need to fix what he thinks is broken in people, and he looks at Wynonna and sees that she's kind of broken in her own regards. We end up finding out, because he is kind of a serial killer, so he has his own particular taste. To me, I just chalked it up to brunettes, but I guess it's like broken brunettes specifically. He sees something inside of them that's broken, wants to fix it. It literally slices Bethany up, and she's still conscious, and he's pulling out her organs, and then she's dying. And when she dies, he's super upset because he's like, I thought I could fix her, thought I could save her. And what I did like the twist is we end up finding out that he is a human. He's not a Revenant. That he was basically working with the Revenant behind it. His name goes basically I have many names that, you can just call me Jack. Very interestingly enough, he ended up being the same, the actor who played Jeremy on Bitten, so I thought that was kind of cool. Just it's just one of those things, you see actors bounce between shows on the same, a lot, especially sci-fi actors. For some reason, it's you see them in one show and you see them in someone else. It's I know you from that. It's just, and I think that also connects with the fact is that they're Canadian actors too. The actress, I can never remember her name. The actress who plays Wynonna, I know her as because she played Tia. Wasn't her character's name on The Listener? So she, Toby's girlfriend in the later seasons. That's why, I knew her. When I immediately started watching the previews, because I was like, why does she have such a familiar face? Sorry, I'm getting off track. But I thought it was kind of an interesting twist, and I did kind of like this Revenant, the way he works, the way he kind of his nails will kind of heat up and he slices into people's necks. Specifically, how he ended up killing Reggie. I thought that was kind of interesting. He ended up bringing up a very interesting thing, talking about the fact is that he liked Wynonna's dad. That basically he was different from other past heirs. They were kind of just headstrong, kind of doing their own thing, but he was actually smart. Apparently he made some kind of deal with Bobo. Apparently they were actually friends. Granted, it was probably before he ended up finding out that Bobo was a Revenant, but still, regardless, it never was really explained what that particular deal was. There was that kind of poem or whatever that Jack was saying before Wynonna put her down, but it's didn't even really understand that. So it's Wynonna's kind of dealing with that, plus the fact that she's taken out the 7, but it's where does she go from here? Because that was kind of what was pushing her so hard. That was kind of what she was focused on. So it's is she really going to care a lot about going after the other revenants? Because it's she did what she wanted to do. She got rid of the 7, because she's never really talked about the fact is what she's going to do, once all the 7 were dealt with. And it's now that they're going, what will you do? vengeance was kind of the only thing pushing her forward. And it's like, now that she's dealt with that, now that she's done with that, it's like, will she have any reason for going on? I mean, granted, like finding out more about this whole situation with Bobo, like what connection he had to their dad and everything. And I don't know if that's something she actually ever told Waverly. It's very interesting. The fact is they don't share a lot of stuff. And it's kind of like, it makes you wonder, like, will it, I don't know, like, will she actually care enough to go after Bobo, because she's already got her revenge. But it's like, I feel like she will want to go after Bobo, but like, even Jack was like, you don't even understand, like, we're nothing compared to Bobo. We've seen bits and pieces of just how powerful he is. The fact is he like used his powers and he took Peacemaker from her so easily, and he was holding it. Like, it was burning him, obviously, but he was still holding on to it, and it wasn't really, he was affected by it, but he wasn't being a bitch like everyone else. That the moment they touched it, they were just like, they couldn't even handle it. Like, he held on to it for an extended period of time. So, yeah, as we've seen, I doubt we've even seen the full power that Bobo possesses. But a really big part of this episode is the fact that we see a team up between Doc and Dolls for the sole purpose of saving Wynonna, because they both do care about her. I did like the fact is when they had to explain prohibition to Henry, and he was just like, oh my god, like he was so disgusted by it. He's like, I'm glad I was stuck inside of a well during that time. But we ended up, seeing them kind of their teamwork together, and it was very interesting because it's like they don't get along, but they do have one bit of common ground, and that's the fact that they both deeply care for Wynonna. And I love the fact is that they ended up going to that guy, his name's Whiskey, and you ended up finding out that basically it's like a fight club or whatever, and that basically Henry owes like 10 G's to the guy, and it's just like, you owe him money, and Dawes is like, oh, you owe him money, of course you do. And he's like, oh, right, did I forget to mention that? And I also love the fact is that Whiskey was like, okay, I'll give you the information, but you'll have to do something for me first. Basically, he wanted Dawes and Dot to fight, right? And I thought that was kind of interesting because Dawes is like, no, don't do that. Like, the fact is, we'll just, I can fight someone else and be, drawing more of a crowd. And Dot's kind of like, what are you, chicken boy or something? Like, kind of call him like, oh, you yellow or something. And it's just like, it ended up being a fight between them, which I thought was very interesting because it's kind of been a long time coming because they don't like each other. But I did like the fact is that we have freaking Dawes with his shirt off and like flexing it and moving his pecs like that, and it's just like, you're a fucking show off, Dawes. Calm the hell down. And even kind of like Doc kind of had like a what the shit type of look on his face, and he's up there trying to. I do like his fighting style. To kind of like, to me, I always refer to that as the fisticuff type of style. I don't know if that's really what that is, but I did like that regards of But he ended up, fighting Dawes. I mean, obviously, Whiskey ended up giving him some information that kind of boosted him, because like most of the fight, Dawes was whooping Doc's ass. But the thing is, Doc ended up finding out, because Whiskey presented it to him, that basically Dawes had turned him over to the people he worked for, telling them about the fact is that he's ageless, his immortality, basically being a science project, research. Essentially, Dawes explains that he was like, do you know what good people can do with your body situation? One thing, like multiple things with that. One, it never crossed my mind to be Henry. I was so sure he was going to talk about the fact is, something that's never been documented before or on record. I was like, he was talking about stuff. It's like, no, of course he was talking about Dawes. I was like so stupid in that regards. It never crossed my mind that was what that was going to be, that that Doc would be what Dawes handed over to his superiors. And Dawes explained eventually why is because his superiors wanted to. They're like, basically with the way things are, Dawes hasn't shown them results, so it's either give them Doc or give them Wynonna, and he wasn't going to do that because basically I guess Wynonna is special as being an heir, specifically the heir, and her connection to demons and stuff like that she would be valuable research to find out, like, okay, what makes an heir special or an Arab special, and what reactions they have to demons and stuff like that. Maybe like try and amplify it to military purposes, because that's what Doc was talking about. I know that's what Dawes was talking about, possibly the military doing with his genes. The fact is that militarizing the fact is that he what made him kind of immortal in that regards, like militarizing that. So maybe they'll do the same thing to battle against demons, find out, maybe something inside of Wynonna can help them fight better against demons or something like that by injecting her blood into it. Something in that regard. But I did like the fact is that Dawes kind of retracted that eventually because Doc kind of talked him out of it, and Doc, I love the fact is Doc, after he said what he said, and Dawes was kind of walking away, kind of feeling like a little guilty about everything. It's just like, oh, that was easier than I thought. I guess to change his mind, because I did like it, because basically they were under the impression they're like, okay, once we save Wynonna, okay, we'll deal with our situation. The moment Wynonna was saved, she's like, don't kill each other, and then literally 3 seconds later pulled their guns on each other. But basically he ended up retracting everything he said about Henry saying like, oh, he's not Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday is really dead. Henry's just a con artist, just because he felt guilty about that regards. Because he was like, because for one, Wynonna would be upset if she ended up finding out that he ended up turning Doc over to them for to be experimented on. But essentially, because Wynonna ended up taking down one of the probably most infamous serial killers around. Because what it made him because he is Jack, and they never brought it up, but I kept thinking, like, the fact is, he obviously is gone and come back multiple times. So it was like, maybe in some regards, maybe at one point he was Jack the Ripper. Maybe not. Maybe Jack the Ripper took from him. But it's just like, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, he is named Jack after all. But it was like he's probably the most vicious of all the revenants we've seen so far, because basically he would cut women open and leave them alive, but surround their bodies with their organs, and it's just like, holy crap, dude, that guy is something extremely nasty. But apparently, to kind of get his boss lady to kind of back off of him, he shows her something in his trunk later on in the episode. I don't know whether that is whiskey, or whether that is something else that we're just not previewed to yet. But we ended up seeing him at the very end of the episode. He's taking Whiskey because he wants to interrogate him, because Whiskey was able to get that information about him like turning Doc over, but that's black badge information. He shouldn't have been able to get access to that, let alone Bobo, because it was Bobo who did it. So apparently Bobo's got a mole within the organization, and now Dawes is going to try and figure out who it is. Because apparently it seems like it's not just black badge, but it seems like Bobo's got people in all sorts of places. There are people who are, most of the remnants obviously are bound to purgatory, specifically the triangle, but it's like, how did Bobo get in a situation where he has such reach? Because it is interesting. It's not like he's just a prevalent revenant. He's also a prevalent criminal too. And we've never really seen the scale of his criminal enterprise. Just something maybe we'll kind of get a taste of in the future. Like I said, it's like, it'd be interesting to see how Wynonna handles this like situation going forth. Also, Nicole too. It's like, to me, I thought she was something special. It's like maybe she's just going to be like a future partner in this whole. Maybe she'll end up joining Black Badge along with Wynonna and Dawes to handle the situation. Because Wynonna was going to tell her the truth, but I'm not sure if I don't think she ever got to that point. So it'd be kind of interesting to see what they decide to do with her character too. Because the way they introduced her, I thought, like, I was under the impression she was going to end up being a Stone Witch. Obviously, she's not the Stone Witch. And speaking of the Stone Witch, we saw Doc had her knife, and basically Wynonna used it and stabbed Jack with it, and it kind of really messed him up. So her weapons are special, so that, because typical weapons can't hurt revenants, but they can slow them down, but I'm guessing in regards, her weapons are probably kind of blessed with magic, so they kind of push past like the fact that they're not just mortal weapons. So, but very awesome episode. Can't wait to see where we go from here. That's really all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.